I'm your host, Cameron, and I'm here with Thomas and Brittany. Before we get started, if this is your first time tuning in, we do office hours 6 times per week. We invite our members onto our Zoom so they can ask any bubble questions that they want. We can't promise answers, but we do promise you at least won't suffer a lot. So let's go ahead and get started. Thomas, you were here first. What are we going to be helping you with today?
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, no worries.
May I share my screen?
Yeah, please do.
So I was asked by somebody, I've set up this dark and light mode functionality here, but I was asked by somebody if it's possible to adjust the dark light mode in a bubble app based off of a user's computer settings. I don't know if I'm clear on that there.
So basically we're looking at whether or not the computer by itself has that mode set up. And then we want to adjust the application based off the computer settings. That is a good question. I know that natively with Bubble, we're sort of limited to what we can do, whereas the data that we're working with is typically on Bubble's end. And if we're looking to use any kind of settings that are native to our computer or device, typically plugins are the way that we go with that. So native to Bubble, we can't really access a person's camera or like using their smartphone or anything of that nature. But there are plugins that allow us to do it. So I'm led to believe that if we're trying to accomplish that, it would probably be best done with the plugin.
Gotcha. All right, cool. I'll take a look. Appreciate that, man.
Yeah. It would be really cool, though. I think Bubble is headed in a direction where we'll soon be given more support for things like that, more granular support for devices. But Tanya just joined us. Maybe Tanya has some information that I don't. Tanya, the question was, are we able to use a computer's, let's say, system settings? Let's say the computer's system setup for like dark mode specifically. And are we able to have the Bubble app look at the computer system settings and automatically convert that website to dark mode if that's already been set up? Does that make sense?
I mean, not native to Bubble, I don't think.
Okay, yeah.
If there's any kind of way for the browser to do that, then potentially we could do that with custom coding, but I'm not a coder, so I wouldn't know.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what I recommended, plugin settings. I feel like that would probably be the best way to accomplish that.
Yeah.
Okay. No worries there.
How's it going, everybody?
It's going. How are you doing?
Good. Sipping some coffee. It's been a busy morning. I've been in meetings since 8 o'clock, so 3 hours of meetings constantly already today.
The coffee is well deserved. I see we're going away from that military-grade caffeine gum.
So I got it right here, just in case.
Just in case. Got to stay strapped.
Yep. What kind of other questions do we have for today?
Yeah, Brittany joined. Brittany, what do you have for us today?
Yes, I just have a general question right now. So can Bubble like do video calling, or maybe even I know it's probably have to be a plugin, but is it possible to do a video call or even a phone call but not have the individual's actual phone number? You know how kind of like how Google does if you call from your email or whatever? Is there a way to do that on Bubble?
Yeah, so I really like Jitsi for that. And I'm still having internet issues, so I might need to restart before I could show you. But you can spin up a Jitsi room between 2 people and send both people the link, and they just join, and they don't have to download any software. It's completely free to use, and it kind of just gives you that ability to connect 2 people audio and visually without cost and without having to do a whole bunch of development work around it.
Okay, cool. You said it's called Jitsi?
Yep. So here, let me, I'll type it in the chat.
Okay.
I have it. Is it meet.jit.si?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And
I can paste it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like, I know they have a monetization plan, but it's not for people. It's not for the small fish in the sea. It's for the big fish in the sea that they have monetization strategies. And for everybody else, they let you use it completely free. And it's simple. It's not meeting in the app. So like if you were trying to recreate like a messenger call or something like that, like you would have in Facebook or whatever, the problem with doing that, if I remember correctly, when I spoke to Gaurav Jain at BDK about it, was that we weren't in wrapped apps, we couldn't use the same technology to spin that up as, say, a Facebook or Messenger would. So we would need some like custom coding around that. Maybe there are new things since I last investigated it.
If you don't mind, Tanya, I'm familiar with Twilio. What would, I guess, the advantage be with using Jitsi versus Twilio?
Oh, I mean, because it's free and it's also really easy. Like
That makes sense. Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Dead simple to set it up. So.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, because I'm familiar with like there are API services that allow you to use Twilio, so I was just like, that's the route that I would approach. But it's obvious, yeah, a little bit more complicated.
No,
that makes sense to me.
If you're doing a web app and you want it to be like more integrated, like in the page that you're using, that kind of thing, then there could be an excuse for doing that. But if you're just trying to connect to people, I think Jitsi is great. And there is a plugin for Jitsi, so that it might be that you can iframe that in and have it in the page as well. But yeah, I think like you could definitely go with Twilio. There's also, I think, one called Agora or something like that. There are a few different, is it called WebRTC for like that kind of thing? There are a few different services for that. But
okay, I'm trying to catch the other ones. You said Trilio, or what is it?
Twilio, TWILIO. And there are plugins for that, and there are several other services. I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but
cool. I put in chat those services that we talked about just right now. Yeah, Twilio and WebRTC. Just so you have other things to look into. But
yeah,
I think based on what Tanya said, honestly, yeah, the Jitsi probably would be best just to get two people to connect.
like it depends on what your purpose is, of course, like what the use case is. But and in the case that I was doing when I first learned about Jitsi, I was told to use and scope out, or sorry, I was the developer on that one, and I was told to use Jitsi because it was so simple. And I went and I had already tried to do video chat in I think I've talked about it on the office hours before. It was for this app called Hey You. And I had already like tried integrating that, and I had, and I got it working. It just was, I couldn't do the chats in the app, like in the native wrapped app. So I had to send the chats into a browser, which was tricky. But then I was doing a web app and I was told to use Jitsi, and Jitsi was just super dead simple. And I was like, I got to remember this for later, because if you just have two people who are chatting by text and then they just want to hop on a video call, it's so easy. Like you just send the link to both people and they click it and suddenly they're talking to each other. Like as an example, I could spin up a Jitsi link right now by clicking that link that Cameron sent. I can create my own room by entering a random character set after the slash, send it to you, click it, and we could be talking right now. Like it's that fast. Yeah.
Well, we like that. That's actually, I'm going to start experimenting with that. That'd be very neat.
It's really cool. And also Twilio, Twilio has a cost to it. All of them have some cost to it. So.
Yeah, you do what you can, right? But yeah. I like that. Cool. I want to hop back over to Thomas, see if he has any other questions for us.
Nope.
I have questions for Thomas.
Oh, flipping it up.
Yeah, let me restart my computer real fast because apparently my internet still hates me 2 weeks later, and I will be right back. You guys can carry on without me for a sec.
All right, sounds good. Sweet. Brittany, any questions? Any other questions?
I do have questions, but I have to kind of get my questions situated so I won't sound crazy when I'm asking them. So, yes.
No worries.
Yeah.
Totally got it. That's not a problem. I wonder though. So I'm gonna share my screen again. Let's see. So I wonder. Wait for it to load, if it ever does.
Are you looking up Jitsi?
Yeah, I was gonna explore the dark mode. I'm gonna see if there's anything native here.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this, detect dark mode preference. This is a simple plugin that allows you to detect the current user's operating system preferred color scheme.
Oh, very cool. Dang. That's awesome.
The only thing. Oh, what's that?
3 apps, so.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. Is don't know whether or not this app is going to, or this plugin is going to be routinely updated. Looks like it's about a year old. Not the worst. For a demo. For loads, I think it's my Wi-Fi that's going a little crazy right now.
Oh.
So this would be true. It is light mode for me. I prefer light mode. So if I had to guess, if this was dark mode, it would then change it to dark mode. I wonder if I have the option to do that. So I'll switch my Mac to dark mode. I'll refresh this page. Yeah, and it detects that I'm in dark mode. So it looks like this app does work.
Very cool. Thank you, man. Appreciate that simple trick there.
Yeah, that's actually super cool. I'm glad this plugin exists.
I didn't think it did, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's cheap, $3. Not bad. The only thing that you do have to worry about, Tanya does stress, is that, it is a plugin. It doesn't look like it's a super used plugin. It could be that this developer may not update their app or may update it and break components and parts of your application. So just keep that in mind. But at least as it is now, it does detect whether it's light mode or dark mode, and you should be able to play with that.
Very cool, man. Thanks again.
Yeah. And then we were also going to look up Jitsi. See, is there a plugin for Jitsi? Is that how you spell? Oh, Jitsi. Yeah, right here.
Yep.
So cool.
It looks like there's a couple different ones, but with definitely some people that use it. So cool. Very neat.
Right. I may, once I get to that portion, I probably will have more questions, but I just want to make sure it was possible before I started designing that part of it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yep. Sweet. No worries.
Episode 247. What? We just keep going and going, don't we?
We're climbing. I was thinking the other night, I was like, man, it's going to be crazy when we get to 1,000. When we get to 4 digits.
I know.
Not too far off. It's my master's, right? It's a little around 2 years.
Yep, we'll get there.
Well, the reason I say that, it doesn't feel like much time is, or it doesn't feel like that's much time. I was thinking about how 5 years ago I was in Australia, and I was like, wait a second, it feels like literally yesterday. I was just, time is getting elusive and weird. Oh, I'm not ready. I don't, make it stop. I refuse.
You can't. The carousel never stops turning.
Yeah. It's like that Willy Wonka when they're in the boat going backwards. There's no knowing where we're going.
Yeah.
It just goes.
Yeah. You're like, that's just too much Grey's Anatomy. I'm going to start sharing my screen. Second. Here we go. Thomas, are you there?
Yep.
I can't remember how we made the stretch. Did we use a floating group?
Is that a floating group?
No, this is not a floating group.
Are we trying to get that to stretch 100 view height?
Yeah.
I use CSS. In one of the projects that I work with, one of a client that I've had, we've set it. We've just assigned an ID attribute, and then in the page header or the app header, we've set a style, that page attribute, and 100 view height.
You want to do it?
Yeah. Let me type it in the chat.
No. You want to do it? It's in this project you have access to.
Well, of course. Let's go ahead and do that.
It's called Tanya's Project Calculator. I started this on office hours last night, so.
Amazing. Okay, cool. I'm pulling it up right now.
And Ben was like, look at you doing design stuff. And I was like, I don't like it. This is why I have Thomas.
So I use the floating group, and like on the floating group, the settings, all you have to do is, I think it's top and bottom, full expand.
Got it.
Yeah, you can do that. We have done that before, and it may have been a bug at the moment. That's why we implemented CSS. But whichever.
Yeah, let's see the CSS version, and then.
Hey, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what Thomas said. I was trying to follow along because I have a similar issue. What did he say? How did he do it?
He used he probably went. I have the floating group holding the header, going across the entire top of the page.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm guessing to do what I want to do, I'm going to switch, and I'm going to have the sidebar actually float relative to the top and the bottom.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So to get that to work really cleanly on the page, what I do is on the page itself for the group, behind the floating group, I add essentially a little column there that's about the same size, width and height of the floating group. And that's just a spacer container because the floating group itself doesn't push any objects on the page.
Got it.
So what we're going to do here, I'm just writing out some CSS, adding a style tag, and this is the ID attribute. You can see here on this, I put the ID attribute full height. This dot is letting us know it's an ID. Then we write about full height. We're going to do height is 100 view height. Say that the minimum height is also 100 view height. And then we should be able to preview this and it should work. And if it doesn't, that's weird. So I think this is the full page. I'm not sure.
Do you want to you can take debug mode off?
Okay, not yet, not what we're trying to get. Just think if I, no, that looks like it's correctly spelled. Okay, to me, that looks like it should work. The computer's saying otherwise. Gotta get rid of this zoom bar. How do I hide it? I'm on a laptop and everything's way smaller.
I know, I can hear you. I think you're in a coffee shop or something.
Yeah, if it gets too loud, let me know. I can absolutely mute myself. I've been trying to do that.
It's all right. We're good.
So right now I'm opening this up so I can find the actual div. We called it full height here. So we know that the ID has been assigned, and we'll test it here when we do height, 100 view height. Cool. So that is doing what we want it to do when we modify it like that.
Could it be because that column is in a group itself, or is it on the page?
It looks like just on the page, yeah. One of the things that we can do as well, so there's two other things that we can do. We can go into our settings, into our SEO meta tags, and inside the script for the header, we can do that then. Which is very weird. Why isn't it happening?
It's stubborn. Oh, it might be that I have the height of the page wrong.
Well, something's overriding it for some very interesting reason.
The page itself, I only have a minimum height set. So
right? This should be able to find that. Cool. So I'm just seeing with this overrides it. Style, height. Because sometimes for some reason, and I did run into this with another client, we had to use a line of JavaScript instead of actual CSS. So if we can override it with CSS, is it taking forever to load for me, or is there no plugins?
I don't have any plugins. No.
Okay, we're gonna add Toolbox real quick.
I know Canvas adds all those plugins automatically, but I've started, like, at least in the short term, starting pages without Canvas. Canvas will be on the new responsive editor, and I might go back.
Well, I got an email recently about how I guess there's a Figma tool now
for Canvas.
Yeah, I don't know if you had seen that.
Well, yeah, they put it in our Slack.
Sweet. So it looks like the JavaScript here works. I don't know why the JavaScript or the CSS isn't working. So something's overriding it. But the JavaScript works, which we like. It's interesting, but this is one of the ways that you can get it to stretch 100 view height. So it's top and bottom.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, Thomas was saying that we should be able to have it stretch.
If we convert it to a floating group.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Gotcha. Yep.
Yep. You want to try that? Or Thomas, do you want to hop in and try? Do you have the new credentials? I changed the credentials recently.
I can just show what I'm doing on my page, Joe.
Okay, cool.
Let me pull that up. Give me a second while I make sure I get this up. Don't let me stop you guys from talking.
I think one of the reasons the CSS wasn't working is because we have a minimum. Well, no. Huh.
Cool though. It's nice to see that. I haven't seen that quite yet.
You haven't seen what quite yet?
What Cameron was showing.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little JavaScript hacking. Nothing too crazy. Like one line. It can get very, very useful. All you need to know in JavaScript is document.query selector, and then you can do anything on the front end just about.
All right. I'm taking over. So what I'm doing here, this is actually a floating group. And behind it, there's an actual group that's a spacer. And then there's this group right here. So because the floating group itself isn't pushing any elements on the page, we put a spacer behind it. And as you can see, let's see if I can expand this much further. It always works pretty well. It sticks to the bottom. Isn't too much of a problem. But let's see, let's find the header itself. Where I want to be. Not that one. So it's pretty simple. On the floating group itself, all you got to do is vertically float relative to both. which means top and bottom. And that's it.
It's too easy. So a floating group, yeah, removes the need for the JavaScript or the CSS.
Yep.
But it seems like if you're not using a floating group, then the other methods would work.
My concern with what your method is happening is because if you're working on a single page application and you have all these groups hiding and showing, like I guess maybe you just keep that group on the main page and everything works around that group. Just trying to think of how you would actually structure that into an application, single page application. I don't know if I made any sense there.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. Yeah, you have to definitely be cognizant of what elements you're applying that to and how it's going to affect everything else. So that makes sense. Yeah, the way that you've done it is smart, especially if it's native inside Bubble, like what Bubble provides. Yeah, definitely good.
Awesome. What else do we have for today?
I don't have anything.
I think we're just hanging out.
We're just hanging out?
Some random questions, but they're not. It's just
That's
I don't
okay, Brittany. Hit us with the random questions.
Okay, so I'm sorry, my daughter. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but
Oh, you're totally fine. Don't worry about it.
I'm going to share. So, hold on one second. I have two different types of users, a business user and a freelancer, right? So I'm starting to notice that I need to kind of make the different user types different, like so they can know which method they're on the site, because they can be a business owner and they can be a freelancer. So I don't know, most of the pages are going to kind of look the same.
Oh, Brittany, you went on mute.
I'm sorry, I was trying to get my daughter to quiet down a little bit.
It's okay.
So what I did was kind of change the background color of this because this new the dashboard. Basically, I wanted to know like any other ideas on how to make it more visible that they're using the site as a particular user. So I don't know if I should change it all around. I wanted to kind of keep it the same, just to have everything in order. But what I did was I just changed the background color. I don't know if that's a significant change versus using it as a business owner or a freelancer. Am I making any sense?
Yeah, so I'm understanding that you just want to be able to basically show the user how or like what their profile is at that moment, whether they're logged in as a business user or a freelancer.
Right, because they can switch between each. They'll be able to switch between the user type by just clicking here. And then I don't want them to get confused, as what account they were using. So I have it right here, freelancer account, but I don't know if I need to put it up here or what, because it's going to I want it to kind of look the same, to be, even across all of the total website, but I don't know if I should do something different, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I'm sure Thomas, being his design background, can probably weigh in a little bit more. But what I've seen in the past is that, where it says dashboard, you could put text to the right of that says dashboard, and in parentheses, it could say business account or it could say freelancer.
Okay.
But the color itself is a good change as well. I think that it shows the user very visually that they're on a different kind of account. So it really is personal preference, but the way that I would approach it is very similar to you, actually. I would probably change some visual elements just like you are, but I would also include something in the text in the header that would let the user know.
Okay. Like I said, my questions are very random today.
Yeah, bring them. We like them. Oh, and Ben's joining us too. Perfect. Hello, Ben. Welcome.
Hey, Ben.
Morning.
Good morning.
Ben, last time you had some API stuff and then you disappeared on us. How you doing?
Yeah, sorry, man. We had major floods here, and it played major havoc with the phone line. So internet just kept cutting in and out and in and out, and it ended up just dropping.
Super sorry. That's so unfortunate. Hope you're safe. You're fine, right?
Yeah, we're fine where we are in Sydney. It was more northern New South Wales and Queensland that just absolutely copped it.
Goodness gracious. Well, as long as you're safe. Good stuff. Now, do you want to go over any of the API stuff that you had questions about?
I made notes. I have Cameron specific questions about APIs.
Wonderful.
But if you guys are busy, do your thing. And
sure, we've just been answering general questions. Thomas, I don't think has anything. Brittany, do you have any other questions? Or are you all right if we hop over to Ben?
Oh, no, Ben, go ahead.
All right, Ben, it's all you.
oh no, terrified. I just wanted to walk through, and I thought it could be interesting for office hours, but it also could be interesting for the Vault in how to. There's a couple of APIs I want to set up, and I've been using third-party services, but I just don't think it's necessary. One of them is the iTunes API.
Oh, okay. Yeah, iTunes API for sure. So signing in with your Apple account, I believe?
No, it's I'll show you. I'm not doing sign in with other accounts. I'm just using email. But if you have a look on here, there's the Lookup API. So I have in the database talent iTunes ID, and I want to bring in the information of what they've got on their catalog.
Gotcha. Okay, I see that. So this is how you would look it up. This is how they say, this is what the URL is going to look like. What does the construct a search look like? Under the search, the bar, left-hand side. Yep. Oh, one above that, the construct a search.
Oh, sorry. Do you want me to send you this link?
Yeah, if you don't mind. That'd be cool. I could take a look at it. Okay, taking a look at it right now. So when creating search fields in the script for your website, you should use dynamic script tags for your XML, HTTP script call requests. Oh, okay, so this is a little different from we get a REST API from what I'm seeing. Okay, so let's see. There's a bunch of tables on sort of like what we're looking at. Okay, be fun to experiment with. We can figure out what's going on.
I thought it would be a fun one. I know, like a lot of people in forums. There's heaps of questions about people just have no idea about APIs, which is why I thought it could be a fun one to kind of do from start to finish.
Yeah.
Bubble do have their own connector for iTunes, but what it brings in is extremely limited. Like it's image, artist, title, that's it. Whereas I think there could be a lot more information there.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. So I'm going to take a lookup example. Let's see what
do you want to take over the screen?
Yeah, sure. Let me go ahead and do that.
Did I just roll in and take over this session? I'm sorry.
No, you didn't. We were taking what Brittany called random questions, and then we were going to roll into after office hours. So this is actually really good.
Okay.
So thank you for bringing this question.
Well, I'm going to preface this by saying I haven't done anything like this before, but that won't stop us from figuring it out.
Nothing stops you from figuring things out, Cameron.
That's true. That's very true. I'm going to call this iTunes. And so we'll take this here. This is what I've copied. This is the URL. Now, the idea here is that we should be able to take this URL and it will return a JSON object. So I wonder, just simple as this. I doubt it, but.
Oh, wow. Whoa.
Oh, I was right. Okay, cool. It'll be a GET request because that's what we're getting. We're not doing anything else except trying to get something. But then for your sake, so we're going to go ahead and make this dynamic.
Yeah.
Let me call this iTunes ID. Okay, like that. And then we should just be able to reinitialize it. And it does, but one last thing is we do need to use this as an action so we can use it in a workflow. At least that's the way that I typically go about it. Reinitialize it, it's thinking, and cool. So let's see what else we can do, because there's a couple other examples it gave us.
Geez, they've made that easy, haven't they? That's the easiest one I've ever seen.
Honestly, yeah, that was a little too simple. I think it's a trap. See, so we can look up something a little bit more complex like this, given a bigger string of text to deal with.
You sound a little bit jaded with APIs, Cameron. It was a little too easy. They're setting us up for something.
Yeah, I know. No one would ever make it this easy. But yeah, so I mean, we just plugged in, it looks like their album information. It gives us the artist ID, the collection ID, it gives us the genre, and then thumbnails and more.
Crazy.
So yeah, that's actually very, very cool. So the iTunes API looks like it was made just as easy as it possibly could be for anybody to use.
Looks like they want you to have the information.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably because it helps to sell things.
Have you seen one that easy before, Tanya? I've never seen one that easy.
Well, it helps that we're not authenticating.
Yeah, if you don't have to authenticate, I think that's pretty nifty.
Yeah, there you go.
Usually my hangups with APIs are first authentication, because even though they try to standardize things, people use the wrong. Like, I think we found that out with, who was it? With Callum. Like, they were using the words that Bubble was using in the API connector, but it wasn't quite right. And then so authentication is usually my first hang up, and then after I figure out the authentication, then it's just a matter of how well documented it is, and if I understand how to ask for the information that I'm looking for. So.
Well, can I throw another one at you then, Cameron?
Yeah, let's do it.
How about YouTube?
I hate you now. No, the reason I say that is because YouTube is how I started my API journey. So there's a couple different things that you need to consider when using Google services. First off, that the refresh token is revolving, meaning that there is an expiration date on the access token. And so you will have to set up a recursive workflow to ensure that we don't lose that. And I think it's set to every like 12 hours, I think. But it gives you inside your JSON object, when you actually get that access token, that passes in an access token and a refresh token with a refresh token expiration, or an access token expiration in the form of an integer. And it's seconds based. So if you're setting up a recursive workflow, you can set the duration that you would like that workflow to run based on the expiration integer minus, I would say, like 20 seconds or something. So it always happens before it actually expires. But then secondly, when you're using Google services, and especially YouTube, you are given a quota of what you're allowed to do and what you, and I can show you here, we'll pull it up. Let's see, what can't I type? What's happening? There we go, YouTube API. Let's go to guides. So this is telling you how to set up your Google console, your Google API console.
Mm-hmm.
Have you what part of this have you gotten through, or
None.
is this just starting?
I'm just throwing
okay.
stuff at you.
Let's do this. You know, I also though, Tanya, do you recall which episode it was that I originally came on and talked? Because I showcased
110.
episode 110. I showcased the YouTube API on how to set it up.
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool.
Sure did. And I think it's timestamped in the vault.
Oh, awesome.
Perfect. Yeah, because it's a beast. I mean, if we wanted to set it up, it'd probably be about another hour, 45 minutes or so to get everything going.
I will say for Cameron, like, you did your presentation of that in 90 minutes, and it is the only YouTube video, instructional YouTube video that I would ever watch and slow it down instead of speed it up.
There you go. Sweet.
You cover, I think Pablo was saying, he was like, it was really hard to timestamp that one because he said something important every 90 seconds.
It definitely is one of those things where you really don't want to miss it, because one misstep and then you gotta figure out where you went wrong, and then you gotta figure out how to fix it. And it can get pretty crazy very quickly.
Yeah.
But what you're going to do, at least to start, is you're going to go to your console.cloud.google, and you want to create a YouTube API project.
Okay.
Inside your dashboard, you're going to be given your APIs and services. Mm-hmm. So two things here, especially with using YouTube or Google services in general, you do need to authenticate. And Google has a little interesting, and I actually have been experiencing this more and more with tech brands. The bigger the tech brand, the more restrictive and exclusive almost they are with setting everything up. But let's say this is an external app, because people all across the world are going to be using this. You do have to set an app name, so we'll just call this YouTube Testing Grounds. My support email, cool. When you have a logo, put your logo in there. You're going to need to set a domain, so we can do this. And so you are aware, it depends on whether you're testing or whether you're live. The URLs obviously will be different. But we can actually take this without doing version test, because what happens if, the URL's the same or whatever it may be, you can actually do it up to here if we're just focusing on the version test. And you can add a wild, you can't contain not for Google, never mind. Okay, I was going to say you can contain or you can add a wildcard, but
you used to be able to, you can't anymore as of maybe 3 months ago, I think.
Well, dang. Okay. I wanted to give you some cool hacking tips, but no.
Yeah.
So once we get past this, we're going to set up our scopes, and I'll show you the scopes that we're going to want to use for YouTube. Scopes are basically permissions.
That was your first API baby, was YouTube. Wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Let's see. What am I filtering currently? Oh. We have to come back here, because what we actually need to do is go to our API library. And we actually have to enable YouTube. We're going to do YouTube Data API 3. You can use analytics. It's exactly as it sounds. It is for YouTube analytic data. But this YouTube data This is going to get you videos, channels, playlists, all the things. And then typically within the YouTube Data API itself, there are calls to retrieve statistics from those videos. So
would you need OAuth for statistics and analytics though?
You would want to select both. Yeah, you can get like a simplified version through Data API v3.
Okay.
But then we're going to go to Oauth Consent screen. We got to finish this guy here. We got to edit the app. Here we go. Scopes. Now we should be able to see our scopes. So we'll take the YouTube. We'll also take the read only. And we will take the Force SSL. So these top three: Auth YouTube, Force SSL, and Auth YouTube read only. So we have these three scopes. We will save and continue. And this is where we get to test users. So you'll notice when publishing status is set to testing, we can only do 100 people at a time. And which is, it's cool if we're testing, right? But if we're trying to get this launched, it can get a little challenging, which is what I ran into. It was super fun. We were launching, we needed 300 people able to sign up, and Google said, nope. Oh, we can't add me. I'm not allowed. Okay.
What about when it goes live, can you still only use 100?
When it goes live, and I think this is where you do it, domain verification. It is somewhere where you do need to verify, and then yes, you are given complete access. But that's what I was mentioning with the quota. Everything here, let's see, where is it? I love their documentation. It's so fun. Search I think takes either 1 or 50. I can't remember. If we type in, there is a numerical amount that it deducts from what you're given each day, what you're allotted each day. And you just have to be careful. I wanted to actually show you, it says somewhere. From experience, though, it does give you only a certain amount that you can use per day, which means that if you find something, like let's say searching for a video, I think searching for a video is actually one of the more expensive API calls. You'll have to do something slightly different, where I think in my experience, we actually ended up taking the playlist and then in the playlist finding the video based on the ID that they provided to us. It was a weird use case, but I do remember there was a workaround for being able to navigate around the crazy quota amount that you're given. Yeah, so 10,000 units per day. Yep. That's it. It says somewhere per item though, and I wish I could pull it up. I don't know why it's not. It is somewhere. Now, one of the things though also that we can do, and I'm not sure if this is because I'm on a smaller monitor or not, there is a playground. So if I type in Google YouTube API playground,
Oh, wow. So do all Google products have a playground?
not all Google products, but a lot do. Yes, a lot do.
That's awesome.
So authorize this API. Yeah, we'll log in with this guy here. Cool. So we're given an authorization code. Now, this is basically like it shows you sort of what to do, which is very, very helpful, especially for testing. So we're given an authorization code. We can exchange it for now our refresh and our access token, and it expires. Well, where to go? And then it expires in this amount of time. And so what this means is that it'll log the user out of their Google account, or at least prevent access from your application.
Mhm.
And so at this point, now this is after you get this access token and so on, you're going to be able to actually make the calls. And each call is going to require an access token. But that's it. And then you'll be able to do what you want. And I want to see, what operations do we have? No filter selected. Do we have to add a header? You think it would do it automatically, right? It would include the authorization. Try this out where we take our access token. I wonder if it will let us do it. Missing parameter. What are we missing? Oh, so we can add a header, but it doesn't look like we can add it to the body, which is weird. Go here, we go to playlists. And I do think it is because of my monitor size. I'm not super certain, but normally in the right-hand side, you'll actually see within their documentation, you'll see a playground over here. So you'll actually be able to make your calls while looking at the documentation.
Oh, that's cool.
Guides. No, not guides. Not samples. Well, it's somewhere. I promise you that.
That's cool.
But yeah, so definitely a couple things to think about when you're using the YouTube API. But watch that video, and hopefully this provides you a good sort of like a good what's the word? Foot placement, I guess. Whatever the phrase is supposed to be.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah. So there's a lot that you have to do, but once you get it, it's very rewarding, and you'll be able to sleep. Not that I'm speaking from experience or anything, but
Cool.
but yeah, cool. Anything else?
I know that's me.
Wicked. Cool. Yeah. It's fun. If you need any help with that, like I said, definitely have lots of experience with the YouTube API. Just give me a ring. We'll hop on a call together and get it knocked out.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. Thank you, Cameron. As
Definitely.
always, I'm looking forward to seeing. We've got to sit down pretty soon here and start working on curriculum for month 3 of Bubble School.
Yeah, most definitely. So as you know, I'm on my way to California.
Have fun.
I will be back presumably Tuesday. It's a very impromptu trip, so not a whole lot of planning apart from the fact that we discovered where we originally wanted to go wasn't going to work. So I believe I will be back Tuesday the latest.
All right.
And then that entire week, you and I can definitely sit down together and talk about it.
For sure. Awesome. Well, you want to go ahead and wrap up office hours and we can move into after hours?
Yeah, sure. So just like Tanya said, guys, we are moving into after office hours, where if you are a part of the developer membership on our Pro NoCoders, you are allowed to join. It is perfect if you have sensitive projects, something maybe you don't want to show in front of everybody else. So come ahead and join us and we'll take care of you and all your concerns. With that said, thanks for tuning in, guys, and until next time.